Hey guys, it's Sam and welcome back to the BulbaSquad. Happy Thanksgiving all. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I decided to do a more fun video today. I went ahead and I asked you guys, the community, what your hot takes in Pokemon are, and some of you responded with Pokemon and specifically others decided to go ahead and talk about just TCGs in general. So the way I'm going to organize this, we're going to target Pokemon first, then we're going to hit the rest of the stuff. And I'm just going to give my reactions, my thoughts. I thought we should just do something kind of fun because information can be a burnout, and right now things are all negative, so we should do something that's going to be fun. Maybe a little inflammatory, but it'll be fun. So, without further ado, let's hop right into it. I'm going to be speaking them out loud, so just follow along. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have any visuals today. Alright. Powerlifting 101. Dump it all. I'm diversifying my investments into taco funds and into some chalupa futures. God have mercy on our souls. You are definitely not alone, my friend. A lot of people are selling their collections. I sold a part of my inventory. We have Twice Baked Jake with his most recent video. Z&G's auction block is blowing up because everyone is trying to sell right now. And Rudy literally just made the video. It feels exactly like 2018 all over again, because all of these stores have all this inventory that they're just trying to flush it out. Like, I would not blame you if you want to go into taco funds and chalupas, because that does seem like a safer bet at the moment. Ryan M. Way more collectors are in it for money, but won't admit it. It's okay to be. Just stop pretending. Yes, I agree. There's nothing wrong with being in this for money. I've always hated the idea that people come into this and tell me something like, oh, I'm a collector, but then they also tell me the dollar value of their item and how much it's gone up. You're not just a pure collector, and it's okay to not be a pure collector. It's not okay to delude yourself into believing that and saying it's all okay, like, oh, it doesn't matter what happens to the collection, but because if that was true, you wouldn't even be looking at the prices at all. You feel me? And number 2, if you enjoy collecting full sets, stay the hell away from Modern, Sword and Shield, and Sun and Moon. I know there's some people who disagree with you there, but I think I get what you're going for. You're trying to say that Modern is super overpriced at the moment, so if you want to do a full set, it's probably smarter to go into Vintage, and I'm willing to bet you like Vintage art more, in which case I could definitely see the appeal. My editor Sarah loves to collect the old clay and wool Pokemon cards. John Carr, people are overreacting as they always do. The Pokemon market is going through a correction. There will be another spark that sets off more people or newer generations into the hobby as long as Pokemon stays the powerhouse that it has been for the past couple of decades. The people who stay in the hobby the longest will do the best for the most part, and those that were just in it for the hype will lose. I say you are generally correct, but I'm not too big a fan of just saying it out loud, just because this has the underlying tone of buy the dip and you make the money in the long term. You guys know how I feel about that. I feel like it's a half-truth. But overall, I do believe the general sentiment is correct. It just needs to be further expanded upon beyond that. And obviously, this is just a very small snippet of what they were saying. They very well could already know this, and they were just saying this. And I get that that's part of the nuance of little comments. Beyond Cake. I just want to ask why 3-pack blisters or sleep booster packs aren't as good investments long-term like booster boxes and ETBs. So, they actually can be investable, okay? Clearly, they have performed. I understand that. I've seen the data. I'm simply not a fan of them myself, and I know a lot of other people are not a fan of them. Simply because it's kind of like a lesser item in terms of investing. It's kind of like if you could buy a full, this is me giving very little, just making a comparison as far as I understand it, the real stock market. Being able to buy a full share versus a part of the share. A booster box or an ETB is closer to a full share than a blister. That you're just buying part of it. It carries more risk to it in my eyes, honestly. I don't like it because, one, they could be resealed more easily than a booster box or an ETB. And 2, people want to buy something in bulk usually, in my experience, especially modern. If we're talking about vintage, that's another conversation entirely. Vintage and modern are two completely separate markets and really cannot be compared to each other. But modern, it's supposed to be more affordable. Why would I don't understand why people would want to pay, let's say, $10 a pack for a 3-pack blister when you could buy, let's say you could pay $7 or $6 a pack for a 36-pack booster box. Yeah, it's cheaper for that blister, but you're paying more overall per pack. I always recognize it as, if I want to open this, I'm just going to save and get more for less. Because at the end of the day, that's the goal, opening it. Vintage, like I said, another market entirely. Some people really like to collect the packs sealed. Hence why there are graded vintage packs. And modern graded packs aren't really a thing. Next, we have Pokemon. Pokemon will find a way to get more of the desirable standard sets from the Sun and Moon block, i.e. Cosmic Eclipse, Team Up, Unified Minds, etc., out into the market at some point in the next few years. If we can still find XY Breakpoint, Fates Collide, and Steam Siege packs in certain tins now, why not do the same for the Sun and Moon sets that have shown to be more popular? I think I know what you're going for. You're trying to say that Pokemon is going to keep printing these sets. I kind of have to disagree with that. I don't believe they were reprinting any of the sets. The era you're pointing to had so much supply combined with a downtime in Pokemon, because Pokemon was really dead for a few years. That's why Rudy and so many people gave up on it. That supply just wasn't absorbed, and so Pokemon kept repackaging it to get it out there. I think that's the reason we're still seeing it. Not that it's being reprinted, or it was printed for much longer than we thought. I think the sheer supply of the time frame was way higher than they anticipated. The demand was lower than they anticipated, and they overprinted. Antler TC, I've got one. Pick a new shirt, Rudy Jr. Honestly, I just like wearing black shirts. It's mostly what I wear. It's simple. Today, I just happen to be wearing a white shirt, okay? So I obliged you, my friend. Basic Trainer. PokeTubers are shooting themselves in the foot by not uploading as often or leaving completely. I believe as a collective group, regardless of what the focus is on the channel, that by doing so they are further taking attention away from people's eyes and the hobby. Just like during the hype, PokeTubers helped make the hype larger, not a bad thing in my opinion, but now the irony is that they also have the opposite power and effect. So, from what I'm gathering, or saying Basic Trainer is, right now, because things are getting a little rockier, it's getting harder to make content, I can attest to that. And you see a lot of people either making no content at all or really slowing it down, kind of like I was for a little bit, that we are helping perpetrate this essentially downhill slide at the moment. And I think that's very true. There is definitely some truth to that. Because we are now being so negative, our audiences now have that view that the world in Pokemon is negative, and therefore it gets worse. And I think there is definitely some truth to that. And unfortunately, not all of us are going to try to counteract it, because honestly, going with the flow is easier usually. Alright, Shadowless Pokemon Dimes. I'm glad the fake collectors are leaving the hobby. Maybe we can be back to normal so not everything is 3 times the price it should be. Yeah, I definitely get that, man. If you're just a pure collector, or not even just a pure collector, just a collector, like that's your main thing, and you make a little bit of money on the side. Last year was super rough, even this year. Just because everything was so expensive, you had to go buy from flippers. So I definitely understand that sentiment of wanting the prices to come back down. Basic Trainer again, thanks for commenting twice. People are having a hard time admitting that the interest in the hobby is depleting by the week. Celebrations was the championship and we won. Maybe a few more months of celebrating, but that's it. People are leaving the hobby. YouTubers are not uploading as often or stopped completely. Oh, I think this was supposed to be like maybe the first one. You get the idea. Prices are way down for the better in my opinion, and the world is opening up. If we can accept this, then we can move forward and continue the growth genuinely with very affordable modern product and way more reasonable prices on collectibles like slab and sealed. Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think this entire market correction is for the better. Sustained rapid growth I think is very bad, just because that's like a hallmark indicator of a bubble usually, especially because of what caused it last year. Now through this consolidation period, we're going to see where the market really is. and it's going to give us a better idea of what to do moving forward. Whether or not it's a full bubble pop or if it's just a deflation is irrelevant. All we know is this happening at the moment is healthy and it is good for the market because it means more people can enter at cheaper prices to just have fun. And that's what you want. You don't want speculators, you want collectors. They're what keeps the game alive. Alright, we got Rhyhorn here. Mason is just a hypocrite. He's claiming he wants more product to sell for less, but when more product actually gets to the market, he cries about it. He also claims he knows what's up in the hobby because he has so much experience through Ink and LGS, but he keeps messing it up. We will never see old prices again is probably the most memorable of them. If being hinted at these mistakes / wrong hypotheses, he is not able to actually see how he messed up and claims there's no way to know that. Man, I think that's the hottest take by far right now. I do think that there may be some truth to that in regards to he hasn't fully owned up to when he has messed up, and honestly, I think it's partially he makes so many videos he forgets, because I have to admit, I myself have been guilty of not owning up to some of my own mess ups because I just straight up forget about them. I think there may just be a level of nuance in that we're not fully understanding. So I myself am not against Mason. I don't like his prices. I don't mess with that. That's just me. But it's a really tough topic in there. He has a store, so he has his own financial motives that he has to keep that store alive and keep going. But he also wants to assist people, so it definitely creates a clash of interests. And all the while, he's a PokeTuber, so we all need to try and make content that's compelling, and sometimes we go to extremes or make what would be the word? A hyperbolic statement, because that definitely grabs attention. So I believe that's part of what you've been seeing. And like I said, I have nothing against him. I honestly think it's just a bad situation he's in. If you have a store, you're also trying to be a face on YouTube, and you're trying to be a person, those are three completely different things. One needs the business, one needs the clicks, one is the real person. And it's really difficult to balance it out. So I can definitely understand why some people get so upset, because there's no way to get that right. And because you can't get it right, it does cause a negative image, and hence why he has been the subject of such scrutiny, and why so many people just dislike him. And that's perfectly fine. If you dislike him, you're more than entitled for that, or entitled to that. WildBirds23, how many base set PSA 7 common cards do you think are listed for sale on eBay right now? So I haven't looked on eBay for PSA 7 common cards in base set. That's a really specific thing. I'm willing to bet there's a lot though, because let's be completely honest, PSA 10s are already going out the door. There's not that many out there. At least I don't think not that many more. The most that we could see those pops shift, in my opinion, would probably be 10-20%. From what I recall correctly, it's the first edition are the easiest to get PSA 10 on because the blades were super new. That's the hypothesis anyway. I believe SM Pratt pitched that they were super new, so it made everything smoother and less damaged. And as more print runs went on, the blades got duller and duller, therefore quality went down. That was the theory that's been pitched around. So then 9s would be next up on the chopping board. I don't feel like there's that much of that either. And most people's collections, if you were a good kid and you kind of played with it a little bit in your sleeve, I could definitely see 7s and 8s being out there, 6s. So I definitely anticipate there's a lot of 7s. And if anyone wants to, go onto PSA, go look at base set prices, or base set unlimited, and see how many PSA 7s there are at the moment. Unfortunately, no one was keeping track of that last year. But I think even if you were to go month by month for the next 2 or 3 months, you'll probably see them going up plenty. And therefore, because people had to have sunk money into those things, they're going to want to liquidate. I think if you keep an eye on Z&G Emporium's auction listing, you might be able to find a couple of them. But there's so many auction blocks out there. Alright, TCG Art House on Facebook, also known as Doug on our Discord. there has been very little sustainable organic growth in more established TCGs. Examples: Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! In the COVID era. Most of the growth has been transient, with speculators who have entered and will exit in an impending bear market. The rest are collectors who have returned from childhood and may or may not stay and could be classified as organic growth, but very few actual new entrants to the market as a classical definition for organic growth. Okay, so that's what... Alright, so I see you're drawing a line in organic growth. There's a difference in between people who were already part of the market at one point and decide to return, kids turning into adults, maturing, versus completely new entries into the market, such as myself, because I was a completely new entry. I had no exposure to Pokemon. Or, yeah, I did have some, just a little bit of anime. I never collected cards. As such, significant price retracements in these three games is inevitable. Oof, okay, so let me actually rephrase that real quick. Because no new people, not just returning people, are coming into this game, it is creating a situation where eventually the prices just have to retrace heavily. So from what I understand, he is proposing that even right now, as the prices are retracing, this isn't the end of it. Eventually, a reckoning is going to come where prices truly come down when the market cap is reached for the total number of people. I actually think there is some truth to that. I do think there's some truth to that. We don't know how many more actual entrants into the Pokemon TCG there are, because we like to talk about how good a video game is or how good an anime is, but that does not equate to someone going into the TCG market. Perfect example, again, my editor Sarah loves Pokemon, was always about it, or not always about it, grew up with it, liked it. She has a hat and she had little plushies. She never entered the TCG market until last year. Think about that. So even though she was very much a lover of it, Pokemon Go, played all the games, she didn't enter it, so therefore it was a situation of they didn't make the jump. How many people are like that? I would argue there's quite a few. It's an unpopular opinion, but I think there is some truth to that. Doesn't mean it'll happen in the next few years, maybe not even in the next decade or two, but eventually a reckoning will have to come, as suddenly we hit a market cap. Elvis, the biggest scammers during the Pokemon hype have not been the stores or the distributors. Already a hot take, because I think anyone who doesn't like Mason would say otherwise. But the Poketubers, worst offenders, have not been the stores or distributors, but the Poketubers. Worst offender are not just because of prices, but because they pretended to care about the hobby and the viewers while ripping them off. I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head. There is some truth to that. To be fair, all hot takes, I think, have their roots in truth. There are absolutely some people who are taking advantage of their audiences, selling at prices that they absolutely shouldn't have in regards to the way the market was going, betraying trust, etc. But I do have to add this, just to play devil's advocate, because it'd be unfair. It is still the individual's choice to pay those prices. I may not agree with the seller going and selling at these prices, but at the end of the day, a transaction does require two people. I may not like the transaction and the prices because I feel one person is being hurt, but the truth is there is still some level of personal responsibility upon the people who paid those prices. It's really a hard ethical thing. I can't really hold it against. I don't like it. I don't want to hold it against anyone. I myself would not personally do that. It's why I made it's an auction block. I made peace with willing to lose money and just let people decide the prices. So that's my thoughts on it. I don't want to go too deep into it because it's a sticky subject. It really can go either way. At the end of the day, it's a transaction. The seller may have some guilt in that they sold too high, but the buyer also has personal responsibility that they should have done more research. Sandmel Collectibles, the price of Rudy's bathroom. So, I don't know what you mean by that. Do you mean, is the hot take trying to figure out what the price of it is, thinking that it's a good idea? Well, I'll give you my hot take. I absolutely hate when someone uses Rudy's bathroom as a justification for a long-term play in Pokemon. Because the truth of the matter is, that wasn't Rudy being smart. That wasn't Rudy being this genius. That was Rudy getting angry and throwing it in the restroom because he just couldn't sell it. That was it. And it's literally dumb luck that 2020 happened. 2020 was the forgive me year. No matter what price you paid for anything, you made money. But to be fair, that's pretty much true of all markets. So it baffles me. I don't like the bathroom at all because it just creates this delusion that you can throw it in your bathroom for years and you're going to make a ton of money when that is absolutely not true. You don't know what's going to happen. And it's not the smartest decision. Just because it's an investment does not mean it is the investment. Understand? You need to do more research beyond just the superficial level. Alright, so I'm done with my own take. And actually, piggybacking off of that, in my Discord, Gerb put one down. He said, I want to put forth the idea of waiting 10, 15, 20 years for returns, pushed forward by YouTubers that haven't walked the earth for nearly as long. And also the idea we discussed regarding supply and demand economics applying to collectibles. So, I'll elaborate a little bit. What he's talking about is specifically that PokeTubers, just like I talked about with the bathroom, have perpetrated this idea that just buy it, hold on to it for 10, 15, 20 years, you'll make money in the long game. The money is made in the long game. When this isn't the best play. So the idea of parking money in an asset like this, such a high risk speculative asset for such a long period of time, is absolutely viable if you have already been established. But as we've kind of looked at the market, most of the people in this entire game are not established already. So the idea of just buy en masse, buy the dip, is not the best choice for them. They need to go beyond that step. And beyond even that, if you don't fully understand the market you're playing in, understand beyond the idea of it's the biggest IP in the world, it's made money for the past like 15 or 20 years. If you don't understand being able to see beyond that and seeing the actual dangers and assess your risk, manage it, because the biggest thing, this is you're not weighing reward, okay? You don't know what the reward on any of this is. You anticipate you're going to have greater reward because the past has said that you will, but this isn't like the S&P. This isn't a true asset. This is just cardboard. And you're banking on speculation and natural organic growth, as we already established, might not even really be occurring as much as we all think anymore, is going to cause this item to appreciate. It itself has no true value. So the only thing you can do is manage the risk. And the idea of holding for 10, 15, 20 years is taking the idea of risk and just throwing it out the window, deciding, I'm going to be so patient it's not going to matter. But here's my hot take, and you guys are not going to like it probably, or some of you. Patience does not justify stupidity. Yes. Patience does not justify stupidity. Okay? You cannot choose to be willfully ignorant just because you believe your patience is going to help pay it off. Okay. As for the second part, the supply and demand economics that him and me discussed. So I myself am guilty of this. I'm going to condemn myself for it. Us PokeTubers, we talk about the supply and demand like we can see the curves on the graph. Like we know exactly where they're going. I try not to do it, but I absolutely have, and I apologize for that. It's very difficult not to at times. We talk about these imaginary lines, and we can see perfectly, well, demand seems to have shifted up by 50%, so therefore price must appreciate, and it ain't coming back down because supply has shifted to the right. So therefore, because it moved at least 50% that way, even if it moves 20% in the other direction, prices are still going to remain elevated. See? We're full of crap. And we need to stop trying to break it down the market into pure supply and demand dynamics. The truth is there's much more nuance to this market. There's manipulation. There's a lot of emotions that drive these prices, because in a perfect supply market, it means there would be like a sole sector of distribution as opposed to all these branches, and people would properly do what they should instead of moving the prices, manipulating. We look at TCG Player. I don't know if you guys saw this a while back. The Ultra Premium Collection, there were a bunch of them being sold for like 109, 118, while the prices were still in the 300s. Those were absolutely bogus. Someone was trying to cause the market to see those prices, panic, and drop the prices lower. Like, that's the theory anyway. StockX had something similar. I believe, I don't remember what other items, but just go look at it. Some items have behaved very strangely, and we believe they were just bogus sales. Manipulation like that. The fact that, Golden Auctions came in. The company who bought Golden Auctions, and I believe they also own CGC. The fact that they can control both of those things, essentially the creation of the cards and an avenue for selling them, creates a situation that is ripe for manipulation. Not saying that they are manipulating, but you understand. There is absolutely the potential for it. So supply and demand alone, and breaking it down to this, is absolutely just willful ignorance, not realizing that this market is complicated. It is messy. Now then, on to the very last ones. These are actually all from TCG Art House, and they are based on, I think, MetaZoo and other TCGs, so let's hop right into them. Number 1, announcing print run size before release is to spark hype and market manipulation, for better or worse. Per Rudy, all attention is good attention, especially when polarizing. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Number 2, announcing print run size after the out of print is to support a healthy secondary market. It doesn't affect the secondary market while in print, and investors appreciate transparency. So I think this is actually specifically in regards to Flesh and Blood. Yeah, I also agree. Number 3, not announcing print run size at all is highly debatable. It creates channels like yours, ripe for market analysis and speculation, which again is welcome attention to the hobby, but also the unknown present risk to the investors. Okay, so he's focusing on the way the investors are being treated. Yeah, not announcing the print run definitely has its drawbacks, because then you get people like me trying to analyze and speculate, and I believe it was Jake and Ash Ketchumall Collectibles who like to speculate on the size of the print runs of various sets. If you go to their Patreon, you can see it in their Zoom calls. Now, again, number 4, Steve Aoki and the management team he has assembled are the brains behind MetaZoo, and Mike Waddell is just a figurehead who handles public engagement and would have failed if he hadn't given up half of his business and equity to Aoki and his powerhouse connections. This is both a criticism and credit to Mike, and something he would likely agree with but not publicly admit. So, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Mike definitely has the perseverance to try and keep pushing MetaZoo forward, but if he hadn't partnered with Aoki, who really does know how to market, like just look at what he did to the NFTs, then I think there's a much higher likelihood they would have failed. Now, the rank, he says, the rank order of best TCG artworks. Magic the Gathering, incredibly diverse, technically sound, and mix of traditional painting and digital art. I'm sorry, but MTG looks kind of boring. Like, I'd put it at the bottom. It's just so boring when I look at it. Flesh and Blood is number 2, also very diverse and technically sound, but purely digital. I'm a little more biased towards Fab because I like to play it, but I'd put it above MTG, not too much higher though. 3, others. Kitty art, Pokemon, anime, cartoonish genres are most subjective and personal. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I'm gonna be honest, the Dragon Ball cards look really cool when I look at them, and I think they're better than Fab. Alright, I actually purchase and collect Dragon Ball cards. I don't purchase and collect very many Fab cards unless if it's something very special. Number 4, MetaZoo. Can you tell he really doesn't like MetaZoo? Childish and lacks technical depth, but appeals to some on a childhood nostalgia level. What nostalgia? Oh, probably Pokemon. I understand what he's saying now. I was going to say, what nostalgia? I I don't remember a little kid walking around with a Mothman plushie like, yeah, he blew up a bridge and killed a couple people. Yeah, no, I don't remember that. So that's all I got for you guys today. What did you guys think of this? So, do you guys want me to do more videos like this where I suggest topics to you guys and you can just give your answers and I can cover them? Today was a little more rough, just because this was the first time and my audience may not have even noticed it. Maybe I might open up a Twitter. Actually, yeah, I'm going to open up a Twitter. I don't like Facebook personally, so I will make a Twitter. I tell you guys right now, and I'm going to try to gather questions from or answers from there and here, so that we can make more audience engaging videos like this that are fun. I hope to mix them into my ordinary content because, like I said, information is good and all, but I myself do get tired of it sometimes because it's so much. I want to have a little more fun, and I want to avoid sacrificing the elegance of information and the delivery of it and the importance I don't want to sabotage that by bringing in my own entertainment, because then it takes away from that information. If I can separate them, segregate them, then it means more people get the information, but I'm still having plenty of fun, and that's perfect mix. So I'm definitely going to do this again. Just tell me, what kind of, would you guys want more things like this? Hot takes, or possibly maybe something like an Ask Me Anything that Twice Baked Jake does. Just give me some feedback on that, please. I know some of you guys make it to this far into the video, and thank you guys for that. Honestly, you're the best. Now, thank you guys for watching this video. If you want to support the channel, Patreon, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.